it wasn't as good.
Did you see that the lady who, or the former cop that mixed up the taser and the pistol?
It's anyone could make that mistake.
Anyone who's never touched a gun or a taser can make that mistake.
Well, to be fair, the tasers are very gun-like. The ones that they use now, they're supposed to have them on different parts of their body. But I mean, like if you Glocks are not made of like metal. You don't have like a shiny brand new 1911, right? Like they feel like almost like toys sometimes. If you've never actually touched a Glock before, you don't touch the slider or whatever, it can feel like a toy. And the tasers are what?
But she said if you've never touched them, but she I think you're making a strong point. If what had happened was like someone was like, "Hey, go grab that gun," and they were like, "In the box," and they're like, "Yeah, but don't show me. Now use it." Like if that had happened, but instead you got like a trained cop.
Yeah.
I feel bad for it because I always go back to my sexist viewpoint. Like maybe she shouldn't have been a fucking cop anyway, but it has nothing to do with her sex.
Clearly shouldn't have been a cop.
It has nothing to do with her sex. Like just watching that woman in court, like I didn't feel like she needed to be a cop. She didn't, if you can make that mistake, you shouldn't be a cop. I don't think I'm tooting my own horn to say I wouldn't make that fucking mistake because I don't think any of us here would. They weigh differently, they feel differently in your hand as long as you don't have gloves on.
They're on totally different.
They're different
the big
colors.
thing for the tasers is they're supposed to be on different parts of your body. Like the tasers are pulled from a different area than a firearm should be.
I mean, I've used both of those things. Like I've used that exact kind of taser and that exact kind of pistol, and they're just to me.
Does anyone know how many rounds she fired? That would matter too. Like if she put 6 rounds in him with the Glock, then
I thought she just shot him once, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I watched her testimony, and she was just like. She acted like she had blanked out the relevant parts of her shooting this man, essentially. So
what happened? She's going to jail.
I think 2 counts of
paid
guilt,
vacation.
Two guilty counts, I think is what I heard, and I think it's manslaughter.
Okay,
which is probably fair. I don't think like the murder charges imply a certain like intent. I think she just fucked up.
Yeah, definitely. I don't
think.
Planning.
What's worse is manslaughter and like negligent homicide literally like the exact same thing. Like
I don't know.
I feel like she performed her job so negligently that another human being died and she's responsible for it. Whatever that is what she did. I don't think she meant to kill that guy though because she did not seem happy with the with it the outcome.
Well, of course not.
Well,
she wants to get back on the streets.
I'm sure plenty of cops have accidentally been like, "Oh, I accidentally shot him. Oh no." I'm sure that's happened.
For sure. Yeah. And it seems like there's a lot. One thing I've seen too often in my wife's freaking murder shows is that the cop is like, all right, Taylor did it. I'm so convinced Taylor did it. And then evidence comes out undeniably proving someone else did it. Like this fucking Kyle DNA all over the place. I don't know why I'm making it about you guys.
Not my DNA. They have that.
I planted it.
Come on the victim. but the cop is still got too much like I still think we should go for Taylor too. And it's like no, we have proven that it's this other guy. And like all the evidence that the hunch you had around Taylor, there's no evidence. It makes 1,000 times more sense that it's somebody else, and they don't let it go.
They treat their jobs like I don't know, like it's a normal job. Like hey Woody, I noticed in your accounting work, you're off. It's just a tiny number, but you're off. And you're like, no, that's just going to be the number now. Well, let's make it that. It's like, well, razors have pencils for a reason. Do you want to get shot? like that doesn't happen. But if you're a cop, that's how things would go.
They just get stuck on that. Or there's a parallel thing where they're like, all right. Maybe Taylor didn't do this thing, but Taylor does stuff like that, I bet. Let's prosecute him for this thing because there's probably other shit we don't know.
The OJ method.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
It works. Justice was found that day.
Yeah, now he's like,
I don't know. I just think most cops don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like I've seen so many videos of them doing silly shit, just gun related shit. Really, that's the only thing I'm kind of semi-qualified to comment on. But like, if she could get that mixed up, she shouldn't be a cop. I don't think. And it wasn't even like a life or death type stressful situation. Like we've seen so many of those crazy videos where like 2 cops are wrestling with a man essentially for their lives in a living room, right? Like there's a knife in play, 2 pistols in play, and we're all fucking rolling around in the living room. That's not the scenario. We've got a guy like in his car, and I get cars with deadly weapons. They love to use that one, but like he's sitting there and they're wrestling with this guy, and we're clearly going to win. Like we know that at the end of the day, we're going to wrap up a W, and somehow she has to like get in the middle of it with a weapon.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There are definitely from like basic gun safety things that I see from cops sometimes that super makes me wonder, where it's not even like you're a cop. It's like, are you like a human being that's ever dealt with a firearm before? I remember the one with the 2 things that trigger me is that when cops intervene in situations where there's not like, you don't need to be here right now. And then when they do it without backup. So if something happens, somebody's going to die because you don't have another person there. So either you're going to feel like you need to kill somebody or somebody's going to kill you. One of the most mind-blowing videos, did you see the cop that was wrestling, or he had the collar of a like 13-year-old in a yard with like 20 other like teenagers around them? They're not like teenagers, like big, like ready, just like kids or whatever. And the guy's got his gun out. He's like, get back. I'm arresting, like citizens arresting as an off-duty cop, this kid or whatever. And he ends up like firing around randomly on accident into like somebody's yard or some shit. And it's like, holy shit, like what are you actually doing right now? Yeah.
Jeez.
One frustration I have, and female cops that have to use the big weapons, taser or especially gun, because they're female cops, right? If the cop is some healthy 35-year-old guy and he knows if there's any altercation, the cop wins handily. The perp knows if there's any altercation, the cop wins handily. There doesn't even have to be an altercation. Everyone knows how that would go down. But when there's a girl involved, she has to use this gun in a situation that the guy could have held him down.
Same's true for those old fat white dudes that are cops still for some reason. It's for anyone who's not physically competent enough to like deal with that job. It's the same thing we always say about firemen and everything else. If you can't drag me out, I don't want you to be my fireman. And if you need to pull out a gun anytime someone's a little bit like harsh with you, you probably shouldn't be a fucking cop. It can't be compliance or murder. Like there has to be some. So it's either compliance or death. You're not RoboCop, all right? There's an in-between here where we just maybe have to like rough somebody up a little bit, push them into a car and handcuff them.
They should have to do like physical tests every year. It shouldn't be like you get on the force, you do your one physical test,
like American
and then
Ninja
it's
Warrior.
like, all right, boom, now time to gain 110 pounds and like be totally ineffective.
I want to remember that old show. It was like Supermarket Dash, where they gave you a shopping cart, set you into a supermarket.
Supermarket sweep.
Yeah, I want one of those where like the cop has to like catch like multiple shoplifters. Like it's the same premise exactly, except there's a cop trying to stop them, and he's being graded as much as they are trying to win household goods.
And if they don't pass their yearly physical, they go to jail.
Sure,
Jesus.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think we should start locking up fat cops.
Lock up fat cops.
Yeah,
and skip a couple meals on their behalf for them. They don't need 3 square.
Back to my lifeguard days. We had to requalify every year. This will make sense to like 1% of the audience, but we did 200 meters, not yards, in 2.5 minutes. If you're a swimmer, this is something that you can do, right? This would be like running an 8-minute mile. Like anyone who's in shape can run an 8-minute mile. But if you're not a swimmer, or if you aren't in shape, an 8-minute mile is hard to get.
Yep.
And it was just enough to sort of force a requalify.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to keep letting cops be fat.
I feel like the cops are in charge of this. And
firefighters, they have to like requalify and stuff, right? I feel like I don't see really fat firefighters.
I know